I enjoyed my joke. You texted me to ask me to go see Rush.
What did I say?
You said, come see Rush with me, and I had forgotten that it was even a movie.
Oh.
And so I thought you had mistyped something else. And I'm like, oh, okay. Did they make a Rush Hour sequel? I really want to see it.
I was like, if it was a Rush Hour sequel, it wouldn't be me at that one.
Yeah, it would.
It probably would. Yeah, well, depending... Well, of course, I'd be at that if it was opposite a Medea Christmas.
Dude, we went to Fast and the Furious. I don't think we're allowed to take the high horse anymore.
We can take if it somehow involves Tyler Perry or Grown Ups 2. We can take.
I meant for Rush Hour.
For Rush Hour. Oh
yes.
Man, I like Fast and the Furious so much better than Rush Hour.
Me too, but Rush Hour is one of those movies that, like, when you're hungover of a Sunday and it comes on, I'm not gonna change the channel.
That would make my headache worse. Chris Tucker's voice.
Chris Tucker is a doll, and you know it.
Is a doll?
Yes.
A creepy doll. It creeps me out more than that Annabeth doll at the beginning of The Conjuring. Oh wait, you haven't seen The Conjuring. There's a creepy doll in The Conjuring. And, like, Brian spent the whole first 5 minutes going, why did you buy that?
He's got to think about dolls. Okay, so Rush. We went and saw Rush.
And it's really good.
Really, really good.
It was really good. And, like, it takes a lot for me to really kind of be into a car racing movie.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, unless it's like Death Race 2000 or, like, The Great Race, you know, or...
I was, like, genuinely invested, like, not just in the characters, but, like, I wonder who's going to win.
I was, too. I know really nothing of the story it's based on. I don't,
Yeah,
so...
I probably should have looked into it to, like, because some of those, like, side stories, I kind of wonder which ones were real and which ones weren't.
Oh, you don't want to do that. It is spoiler heavy.
Yeah, well, because, like, the thing is that the previews definitely have some spoilers in it, so if you have a chance to not see the previews, that would be favorite, because, and then this is when we start spoiling the movie, just as far as the previews are concerned. We knew from the get-go that eventually Nikki's gonna catch on fire.
Yeah.
And, because, like, we've mentioned before, they've got the two previews, the sexy, 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 guy on fire, sexy, 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 and guy on fire, rehabilitation set to inspirational music. And I was really hoping it was gonna be the first movie rather than the second. And it was.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good mixture of both, because you really see the high point of, more so, the James Hunt character, more so James Hunt.
Hunt,
like
it rhymes with cunt.
My name's Hunt. It rhymes with cunt.
Which
like
is what you are.
Banging.
Sounds suave because he's British.
Because it's Thor. So yeah, like the first half of it, honestly, it's a really good movie about both of them. I mean, Chris Hemsworth is all over the marketing for it. It's just his face on the poster, but really, it's a equal movie about both of these guys. You'll be spending a good time with Chris Hemsworth, and you'll be spending some more time with Nikki. It does a good job of going back and forth between this, like, rivalry, but like a rivalry with...
It was like a bros mutual respect sort of rivalry.
Like, kind of respect there, sort of, you know.
They're equally each other's destruction and also each other's, like, impetus towards greatness.
And I like that it's normally when you see a movie like this, it's like one guy is clearly the protagonist and the other guy is Billy Zabka. You know, I like that in this one, they're both assholes.
They really, well, because, like, I fell in love with Nikki almost immediately, which, again, annoyed me that I knew that they were going to set him on fire at some point. But, so, like, I found that character more endearing, but you're right, they're both really flawed characters in ways that kind of played off of each other, because like they met like back when they were young in Formula 3, I guess. Yeah. And they hated each other from the get-go because like Hunt rhymes with cunt has a really sort of aggressive, you know, devil may care driving style, whereas Nikki kind of like he showed up at dawn, he walked the track to figure out where all the stuff was, and he can like has a sort of a sense of how to make a car better and what's wrong with it. So they were just, you know, just the two personalities just were destined to butt heads. Oh yeah, and you have like, which honestly kind of makes sense why there's two vastly different trailers for it, because it is really equal parts. Yeah, I guess one is sort of a Chris Hemsworth trailer, and one is sort of a Nikki trailer.
And so the Chris Hemsworth stuff is, it kind of looks like you're watching like a. if Superfly was about racing or like Blow or Goodfellas or something like, you know, like there's montages to it set to like David Bowie with, you know, the screen split in 3 parts, threesome one side of the screen, booze on one side, more threesomes on the other side of the screen. It's a racing movie with
the first time he steps into a car, the guy hands him a glass of champagne and a joint. Like, here you go.
Yeah.
And I'm ready to race.
Fucking do this, 1970s. Ah.
Like that, I was worried that it was going to be like one of those, you know, gloss over the rough patches sort of movies, but like one of the very first lines in the film is Nicky's got a voiceover that was, "It all began when I was chasing James Hunt like an asshole." Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, okay, good.
I like them just flipping each other off, calling each other asses and dicks, and then, you know, Nicky's getting shit from a reporter, and Chris Hemsworth beats the shit out of the reporter.
That was amazing.
That was awesome.
But like, Nicky's character, I guess that it makes sense that the previous more geared towards him would focus on the, you know, the aspect of him that makes him more likable to like Johnny Come Everygoer.
Yeah.
And that's when, you know, he gets his face burned off and he's just going through rehabilitation. It's all inspiring because, you know, he wants to get back in the race so he can keep racing with his rival. Because his character throughout the rest of the movie, out of context, is despicable. It's basically, he's Australian and he's very like...
Austrian,
is it? Sorry,
yeah.
I misspoke. He's very like tight-assed and like... There's a scene where like the one friend that he has, they're like driving, and his friend, he's like mouthing off, and finally his friend just turns to him and says, "Are you always an asshole?" And
yes.
He's like, "I'm not the asshole, I'm the better driver, and I've been in this like a fraction of the time you have. If you're not able to come to terms with it, you're the asshole."
If I'm gonna marry someone, I mean, might as well be you.
I'm not very good at this, but if I'm gonna marry someone, it might as well be you.
It might as well be you.
And God bless her, she's like, "Oh, you're a poet."
You're such a poet,
That
asshole.
was a really cute relationship.
It kind of was, yeah. Like it did it well because I really bought that these two would be together, and that really complements the writing of this movie because it is a movie about two assholes. You have Chris Hemsworth character who's the hard drinking, chain smoking, joining the Mile High Club, banging stewardesses, banging nurses kind of guy. You know, I mean, he's an arrogant prick, and you have Niki Lauda who's also portrayed as an arrogant prick in the movie, but more, how do I put, more cold. More cold, and they're both shallow in very different reasons. Just Niki is a lot more just icy cold, sort of emotionless, kind of.
But his one vulnerability is his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
well, it was this woman that he met like at after that exchange I just did. His friend was like, "You know what? I was gonna take you to this party, but I'm not. I'm just gonna ditch you by the side of the road." So
yeah.
he like
Fuck you.
He like flags down a ride from this woman, and you know, she picks him up, and they're having like sexual chemistry, and they eventually like. The car breaks down and they get another car to stop, and the car knows who he is. Oh my god,
yeah.
It's Niki Lauda. And so they have him driving, and when she realizes he's a racer, she's like, "I want you to drive faster." And he's like, "Do you always get what you want?" And she's like, "Usually." So he just like blasts down the highway, and she's like, "Moisture."
This is the squarest James Bond I've ever seen. And I like it because it's touching upon his relationship with her at the same time it is with. Was that Olivia Wilde?
I think it was. Yeah,
okay.
they like blonded her, so it was hard to tell. But yeah, you mentioning it makes me recognize her.
And they have her just kind of in and. I like how many characters just come in and out of this movie. Like
she just like wanders in, and he's like, "So my friends say I should get married. It sounds terrible, but they're usually right.
Sounds like a
Want to
terrible
get married?
idea.
Cut to the wedding scene."
And then she cheats on him with Richard Burton, which...
If you're gonna cheat on someone with someone.
Yeah, I understand this.
Well, he just got done telling her, like, "Fuck off back to New York, you vapid cunt." You know?
Yeah, when they were still married. Just, fuck off back to New York. Cunt.
Maybe I will. Maybe I'll go sleep with Richard Burton.
Yeah,
See
bitch.
how you like it.
Yeah, Richard Burton. She ain't gonna sleep with Richard Burton. Oh, fuck, she's gonna sleep with Richard Burton.
They kept bringing, like, the newspapers into it to kind of inject some sense of humor, and the headline for that was, you know, "Stacy races back to Burton."
Clever. That's nothing. I was watching the news the other day, and it had a picture of... it had a picture of Boehner with the headline Mr. T. T-E-A in the same font
God damn
as
it.
Mr. T.
That sounds like a Daily Show headline.
That's what... They keep trying to... The real news is trying to be like the Daily Show. With
The Daily
like
Show is trying to make fun of the real news.
Anytime there's a really bad one like that, I take a picture of it and send it to Brian. Oh, God fucking damn it! But I really like that this movie really went... It didn't hold back on these guys' lifestyle at all. It's a hard drinking, hard smoking, sex scenes have nudity in it. Mm-hmm. People call each other cunts, fuckheads, pricks, shit like that.
Asshole was Nicky's
Assholes, yeah. And when people crash, it's graphic. It's
Jesus
like fucking
Christ.
Saving Private Ryan.
Jake asked me outside, how we liked it. I said, it's really good, but, all the things that a burn victim goes through. He's like, yeah, and I'm like, so do I now.
So do I.
Because, they fixate on, because Nicky crashes, because, the wheel pops off of his car, because he's, he makes a couple mistakes. And he's trapped in it and on fire for, a minute and a half, and people are, running up and trying to put it out, and they get caught on fire, and so they run off. But we are fixated on him and his melting flesh. And I was, climbing up my chair trying to get away from it.
I could see you out of the corner of my eye.
When I react to stuff, and when I'm invested in a movie, I'll fucking react to stuff. And I was... In spite of myself, I was trying to escape from the thing that was
trying
happening.
to escape from the movie. We could have been sitting in the very back, just climb through the projector window.
Stop it!
Wow.
And then he's in the bird ward, and they're doing the wet dry bandaging. Because when you have a burn, you can't have a scab on it, so they put a wet bandage, and then they pull that shit off, and then a wet bandage.
Yeah.
And so they're doing that, and he's screaming, and they're having to irrigate his lungs, not irrigate, vacuum the gunk out of him with
and
a
this is 70s
giant
hospital
metal rod, and he's just laying on a table
watching the race.
Do it again.
Do it. Hit me. Juice me.
Are you sure?
But honestly, knowing what's gonna eventually happen, him crashing and setting on fire did make that race more intense. It did, because you're waiting for it. You're sitting there, and
I was waiting for the first, the couple races before that. Is this the one where they set him on fire?
Oh no, it was the one where it was world's most dangerous course during slick wet torrential downpour and shit, and okay, I think this is probably going to be the one where he crashes.
This one's called Devil's Turn. I wonder if this is the one.
Yep, it was. It's bro. But honestly, even before then, it shows. I mean, it doesn't.
Shows a couple.
It shows a couple. It doesn't do it a lot. It's not like it's
there's crashing left and right.
Yeah. Oh my god. It shows one guy with his tibia broken half.
They pull him past the camera on a stretcher, and the bones are kind of jutting through in the foreground.
He's fine.
And then there's one where the car smashes, and you have to look at it I wonder if the driver's still in there, because it's not readily apparent.
No, it's not. You just see blood's he evaporated. He's just gone.
Chris Hemsworth actually got the line where he's telling Olivia Wilde about the car, and how he's it's basically a coffin, and right here's the engine, so it's effectively a bomb on wheels. So when they explode, they fucking explode.
Yeah, and I liked what was that line? What was that line where Nicky Lauda was going to ask a girl out, but you don't want to do that.
Oh,
because
God, her
she
last
previously
boyfriend
dated.
Was this English driver who is a very good racer, but he also can fuck all night.
He can fuck all night, man.
So if that doesn't intimidate you, then by all means. He's like, what's his name? James Hunt.
Damn it. I suck.
Trump.
I suck in bed. I will not ask this girl out.
Don't say that about my Nicky.
I mean, I don't know.
You don't know. Maybe he's a wildcat. It's always the quiet ones.
I like the idea of going up to somebody and be like, hey man, look, I know you're going to ask this girl out, all right? I just need to tell you.
Your last boyfriend's dick.
Don't ask me how I know this. It's fucking hung like John Holmes, okay? Trust me, goes all night long.
That's the line, like a baby's arm holding an apple.
Baby's arm holding an apple. What's the name of this person? Well, it actually is John Holmes. Really, like, you should already know this. I don't know why I'm even telling you. I watch a lot of porn.
But it's a really, really good movie. I was trying to figure out the theory, and I think it's the best movie I've seen all year, at least in my
all year
opinion.
long?
Yeah.
It was, like, it was fun. I mean, it's really a testament to how well made, how well written, how likable these characters are, in that it took a subject matter that's not really my thing.
Driving around in circles, but like they focused on the courtship with death aspect of it, and
it
like, made the cars exciting, and like they had the real feeling of motion.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, Ron Howard's a great. He's a fantastic director. I mean, hell, he made the Grand Theft Auto movie. It's not really a tie to the thing, but
You've just been playing a lot of Grand Theft Auto.
I've just been playing a lot of. Oh, it's great when they have that movie on DVD now. It's like the same font as the game.
Wait, that's a thing?
It's 70s movie.
I thought you were making a joke. Oh, okay, so it's not like a movie based on the video game.
No.
Okay.
I think that was like the first or one of the first movies he directed. He's also in it. And yeah, it's called Grand Theft Auto.
Oh, okay.
But I mean,
that's better than what I was picturing in my mind once I realized you were serious.
What were you picturing in your head?
Like, based on the popular video game Grand Theft Auto, directed by Ron Howard because he needed a new kitchen.
Rated PG-13. Boo!
Run over hookers with your car, they stand up, dust themselves off. You bad drivers.
Yeah. They have it set in a virtual reality world where no one actually dies.
But, fuck, I was gonna say something, but I lost my train of thought. This is a really good movie.
It is. It's really good. I don't know what...
But yeah, like, the workings of the car get worked into, like, the plot, like when...
It was 3/8 of an inch, a 3/8 of an inch shorter than
that was
legal.
a fantastic part.
You fucking
like,
rat.
Because James had beaten Nicky at a race and then was, like, giving him crap about it. And so Nicky basically, like, eyeballed this car, and since he's got this sense, figured out that, okay, their little taily fin car bit was a little bit too long for regulations. And so he went and he basically told the board, so James got disqualified for that race. But what I was talking about was more that, like, when they're getting pumped up, they'll cut to, like, pistons in a really effective way and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah, without it being gratuitous.
Yeah.
Without it being incredibly gratuitous. And, like, for instance, the way that the races are shot in this, are done really, really well. There's not a bunch of quick fucking cuts. You always know where...
They're usually in the cockpit with the guy.
Yeah. It isn't like bouncing from camera. Okay, it's not Getaway. It's not the movie that Brian and Irving went to go see. It's not a bunch of quick, rapid cuts and you have no idea what the fuck is going on in any of these races. In this one... No, I mean, there's certainly cuts, of course, and there's certainly a bunch of different angles, but they all blend into each other well. It's all very fluid. It's nothing incredibly gratuitous or just cut for the sake of cuts just to make everything just ADD and shit. It's a well-made movie. It's an incredibly well-made movie, and it's all... you know what? Going into it, I figured I was gonna like it. Having seen more trailers from it, and you can even tell this from watching the trailers just how colorful some of these guys are gonna be. So I enjoyed it a lot better than when I saw the very first trailer for it, in which I was kind of like, I'm sure that's probably pretty good, but I don't racing thing. I don't
it's more character driven than it is racing driven. Like I was expecting, I guess, a sports movie, and it really wasn't.
No.
It was just a movie that happened to have a sport in it. More as a driving force than like a focus point, you know. I was saying outside that I did fall in love with the Nicky character, and I think it's because the guy who played him did such a fantastic job. Because I'm not saying Chris Hemsworth didn't do well; he did do really well. But I thought that guy, like, if he isn't at least nominated for an Oscar, I'm gonna be surprised.
Well, we left the theater like,
who the fuck was
Who's
that guy?
actor? Like, I know I've seen him in something, but
We Googled him, and he was in Inglourious Bastards as,
Zoller.
yeah,
The
Zoller.
the hero Nazi.
Which doesn't even look remotely the same. I think it's because he's making sort of like a ratty face.
Yeah,
like the
he's got
actual
some.
guy.
Yeah, there's a reason why Chris Hemsworth calling him a rat in a couple of scenes.
Well, at the
in
end
which he's
they
like,
showed
"You
pictures
call me
of
a rat? I don't care."
I'm not good looking, and that's fine because I'm an excellent racer.
Mm-hmm.
Asshole.
But they also both make really, really valid points, too. Like, he really makes valid points about where he sort of comes from and his lifestyle and his idea of racing. But honestly, so does Chris Hemsworth, too. Like, he's in it for a lot of popularity. Chicks, like, montage with Fame by David Bowie playing.
Fame
like,
and glory.
you know, he's like, hey, Nikki, come on. I mean, you gotta have fun in life, man. And stuff like that. Like, you know, both of these guys are making good arguments for their own lifestyle.
And that was really evidence, I thought, in the final race, because Nikki's very much about 20%, 20% danger. Anything above that is unacceptable, which is why he tried to get the race where he got caught on fire shut down. And this is like actual spoilers, in the final race, he ends up just veering off, you know, because it's way too dangerous. They're in Japan, it's pouring down rain. They had to like drill holes in the sides of the visors, which even though it's letting the rain in, at least it won't get condensation and be like zero visibility. And so he's driving and he's getting like pictures of his wife and how sad she was when he caught on fire that one time. And he's like, okay, fuck it. So he just pulls over and stops the race. However, there's still a chance that he could win because he's 3 points ahead of Chris Hemsworth. So Chris Hemsworth continues with the race on like bald fucking tires and just blasting past people and ends up like eking it out by a point. So it's like, it's very showcase their particular driving styles and lifestyles, you know.
Yeah, and at the end, and having not known the story, the ending was
This is
it
really
was
kind of
suspenseful.
spoiler since it's based on a true story.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, even movies that are based on a true story, I usually try to when I'm like listening to a review or watching a review, like because I mean I didn't know anything about this or anything like that, so
Yeah,
I was staying away from reading certain reviews from it, so I didn't know who was going to win at the end of the movie, and that was suspenseful. It was suspenseful not knowing who's going to win, and both characters I would have been fine regardless of how it turned out.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt when the Japan race first started. It's like, I don't know who I'm rooting for. I kind of just want it to end well. And it did.
I just want no one to die.
If he catches on fire again.
Oh my god. Dude, just look, maybe you just shouldn't race
Asbestos.
anymore,
Just pack your shit with asbestos. But like, it was based on a true story, and there were like little things that happened throughout the movie that I wonder if they were also true. Like you mentioned before, him punching the reporter, because like they were sitting at a press conference after Nicky got part of his face burned off, and it's not horrific. I didn't think he was still, you know, you could look at him. It was just surprising having seen him before it. It was like kind of skin graft from here, and then this ear was like kind of like a melty mess, and a reporter asked him, so what did your wife see when she saw your face? And he kind of had this horrified moment, and he's like, she said, sweetie, you don't need a face to win a race, you just need a right foot. And everyone had a good laugh, and the reporter's like, no, seriously, do you really expect your marriage to last, considering what happened? And he's like, no, seriously, fuck you. And so after the press conference, Chris Hemsworth is like, oh, hey, buddy, let me show you something in this back room. Bam, 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 bam.
Shoves tape recorder in mouth, punches tape recorder in teeth.
Go home and ask your wife how she likes your new face.
And I like that, because it did show that these guys butt heads and they give each other shit, they break each other's balls, but they seem to respect each other.
Yeah, well, they were showing footage of like the actual guys at the end of the movie, and it was like them kind of canoodling, you know, put their faces together and talking about stuff, not like antagonistically, but just like friendly, like.
Yeah, just kind of shooting the shit at the side of the racetrack.
And they did both really like look a lot like the people they were playing. I did like it because again, like, I
I didn't know what either of these guys look like in real life.
No.
Sorry. I'm not a racing guy. I'm not a racing guy. I'm sorry.
They did say Mario Andretti was in that last race, and that was
I know who that is. Yeah, I know who that is. I was like, oh, I know that. I know that name. Oh. It's great when we're here past the employees. I wonder if the employees ever come out like, what is always going on in these cars?
I'm sure they've cottoned on to the fact that we're doing something.
Dealing drugs.
Yes, it's smoking and token.
Sorry, we'll be done in a minute.
I just really enjoyed the movie.
It's
guys.
way better. It kicks the ass of the Liam Hemsworth movie I saw.
What was that?
That was the Harrison Ford Paranoia.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Liam Hemsworth was the star.
You said people were tweeting you about it.
Huh?
I said I remember you saying that people were tweeting you about the
Brad, did you hear about
movie.
this other movie called Paranoia? Yes.
Yes, I did.
I have.
Thank you, the internet. You got my back 100 times.
Poor Liam Hemsworth stuck in this PG-13 thriller about cell phone companies. Meanwhile, Chris Hemsworth, 5 miles in the sky. Yeah! Fuck you, little brother. My career's better.
It's so like of the era because the stewardess just kind of like walked past him and like wiggled her butt and he's like, okay, I know what that means.
Bang!
Banging in the bathroom.
And the nurse at the beginning, like he's walking in like, we heard there was an accident. And he's bloody nose, like fucking wound on the side of him.
I'm fine.
I'm fine. Who's gonna patch me up, ladies? Bang.
Marjorie Tyrell, you're on deck.
The nurse stuck around for a little while in the movie.
Well, you recognize her, right? She was
Who was that?
Marjorie from Game of Thrones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
all right.
They had blonde at her, but yeah, she basically like took him in the back room and she's like, so what happened? He's like, I got an argument with a guy over his wife because I banged the shit out of her, or whatever the line was. And she's like, well, you banged the shit out of me. He's like, boy, howdy. And so then they just kind of tumble over onto the floor.
We need an actress who we know does nudity.
Titty!
Game of Thrones.
But can do a British accent.
Yeah. And she stuck around for like the first like maybe a half hour of the movie, was suddenly gone. Like, oh, I guess it didn't work out between the two of them.
Oh well.
What are you gonna do? Well, actually, speaking of Liam Hemsworth, we got the.
Sorry about that. Oh, I had a hair stuck in my face. I was kind of flailing at myself for a second.
I thought you were doing the Curly Howard, like Liam Hemsworth. Been watching some Stooges,
have you? So people don't think that I'm like just picking at my face. Anyway, I am listening.
No, but you saw more of this trailer. They show like the new like Catching Fire trailer.
Yeah. Well, the thing is like for me, I really liked the first 2 books, so I am looking forward to this movie. And from what I can tell, they are paying attention to like the important points. It's just a matter of whether they do like the shaky cam, don't show any violence.
Oh God!
Like they did in the first one.
Well, they're definitely gonna be cutting away from the violence again. But I hope they tone the fuck down to that shaky cam shit. And I even kind of like the first one. Like I like the first half way better than the second half. But I thought the first one was fine.
I liked it.
Yeah.
Again, I do like the first 2 books, but I hated the third one, so I'm not like obsessive about the series. You know, it's just that I think it translated well to film, and I hope that the second one does as well.
Yeah, I don't know anything about. I haven't read the books, so I don't know much really about the second one. But I do know that everyone I know, like you and Irving, who have read the third book, don't much care for it that bad. I think they're. If I remember right,
it's not the writing. It's just there are some plot points that kind of ruined the series retroactively for me. So I just kind of decided to pretend it didn't happen, like Buffy season 7.
I'm sure they'll be in the movie because from what I understand, they're chopping the third book up into 2 movies.
Oh God damn it!
Because why wouldn't they?
Yeah,
that's worked so well before. What fucking else did we... Oh, Grudge Match.
Yes.
That
looks good. I wouldn't mind going to see that. Well, because like I was saying, Sylvester Stallone's face looks normal because he's not pancake makeup, and I thought it looked really funny.
I think it looks fun. I mean, I'm a sucker for Stallone, of course, but like, I mean, it gets kind of stupid when he's like Okay, it looks like it's Rocky versus Raging Bull. That's what it is. That's the gimmick of the movie, is that it's Raging Bull and it's Rocky Balboa, and they're gonna box each other in the movie. And I like how they address the fact that, I mean, come on, Stallone could probably normally win in this fight.
He's got like a foot on him.
Yeah, and he's there. Fuck, you know, I think Stallone might actually be older than Robert De Niro, and well, I might be wrong about that, but they are both fairly close in age.
Tell us in the comments.
Stallone's 40. Yeah, 40. Stallone, he was born in like 44, 45. He's late 60s in real life.
Okay.
Mid to late 60s. And De Niro, I'm not 100% sure, but if he's older, he's not much older. But Stallone is built like Stallone.
They look like Stallone would definitely have an edge, but like they play it sort of silly enough that I could believe either of them winning. You know, like that one fist fight that they had in the preview where they're both wearing like mocap suits.
Yeah,
and just like start wailing at each other with
wailing on each other, and I like and Alan Arkin popping up calling Kevin Hart Webster. I kind of lost my shit at that.
You're saying that because of my dictionarial vocabulary, not because of my height and race.
No, it's because you're short and black. I kind of lost my shit at that line.
Yourself.
That was good, movie. That was good. That made up for the Rocky in-joke where he's about to punch meat, which was kind of groan-inducing.
Like, oh, don't punch me. That's silly. A ka-wink.
Wink. I really hope they don't do something like that in reference to Raging Bull. It's going to show him punch his wife.
Hey, you don't punch wife. That's silly. Ka-wink.
Wink. Wow, it got really dark. Why was that shot in black and white all of a sudden?
I like that Kevin Hart was in this movie because we were saying inside that he's in like every single freaking movie this year. Because he's in, what is he?
Oh, that Ride Along.
Yeah, he's in that Ride Along movie where he wants to date the guy's sister.
Mm-hmm.
So he has to ride along. He was also in a movie that we got a preview for a couple of movies ago. I can't fucking remember what it was called, but it was like one of those relationship movies where like the two people in a couple set their friends up with each other. Okay. And then they're like having like, this is what boys want, this is what girls want. And then the one guy in the relationship was Kevin Hart.
Okay.
It looked forgettable, but it was another movie that he was in.
It wasn't that Best Man Holiday or Baggage Claim or
he's not in Best Man Holiday.
Okay,
because that's the one where it's got like Terrence Howard and Michael from Lost, right?
Oh, is it? Brian usually gets those trailers.
We'll just ask him later.
I think I might have gotten that trailer like once, but I can't remember. All I remember was sitting there going, "They made a sequel to The Best Man." Okay.
Sold.
Yeah, like I forgot that movie existed.
We should talk about American Hustle.
Yeah, you hadn't gotten that trailer before.
I hadn't. That looks exciting, and I have. Actually sounds familiar, me saying that. So maybe I have gotten it one time before, but I have no idea what that movie's about.
We said the same thing about The Counselor.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, because it's basically 70s, the motion picture.
Sold.
It's so well done. It's Jennifer Hudson with, like, hair up to here.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, he's, like, got some woman propped up on his desk, and he's just, like, spanking her on the butt. Like you do.
Oh, and fucking, like, Bradley Cooper there looking like white tubs from, like, sweet perm action
it's
going
got, like,
on.
Greasy 70s dudes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And, like, when I got that trailer, like, a month ago, and, like, it took me a second to realize that was Christian Bale. Like, he walks on screen for a second, I thought it was Sam Rockwell. Because, you know...
Sam Rockwell just looks like he belongs in the 70s anyway.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I did remember another trailer we got, which had slipped my mind until just now, because you mentioned Unfortunate Beards. That Army movie.
Lone Survivor.
For the first fucking 9/10 of that movie, I thought it was a commercial for the Army.
Yeah.
So...
Well, they got Wahlberg for this? Right on.
Well, it's Wahlberg with like a... Whoa.
Uh-oh.
Camera fell asleep. It's Wahlberg with like a Samuel Tarmy patchy fucking beard, then he's like, get dropped in the forest, find some kid, they're gonna shoot him, and they're like, no, we're better than that, and so they don't shoot him, and then they're just basically like climbing mountains, expecting him to be like that deep-voiced State Farm guy to suddenly cut in.
Yeah.
You know? That does not look like my kind of movie.
Then the Predator chases them. That movie, I mean, I don't know, it might be alright, I don't know. I like Wahlberg a lot. I'm not really. That trailer does nothing for me.
It looks like Mark Wahlberg can be in good movies, you guys. The movie. Mm-hmm. But I don't think it's going to be.
It looks a little Oscar baity.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, give Mark Wahlberg an Oscar, you guys.
Yeah, it's this year's stop loss. But
it's incredibly loud and extremely close.
Oh God. Maybe not that Oscar baity. Have you ever seen that movie?
No.
Okay. The kid's dad dies in 9/11. He makes friends with an old mute. Never forget. he makes
pound it for never forgetting. Sorry, he makes what?
He makes friends with a like a mute guy. I can't remember, and I think his grandparents were also in the Holocaust, and the kid's name is Oscar. No, it's okay. It's with a K.
That's incredibly on the nose.
Subtle.
I have no interest in watching that. So, at what point is it incredibly loud and extremely close?
In that movie?
Like, are we really close to the explosion, or...?
If I remember right, the movie opens with him, like, falling from the World Trade Center.
Does it show, like, R-Pats in the background?
It's a tie-in movie. They all link in together.
That's amazingly coincidental.
Wow! They all link in together like the Tommy Westphall universe. You don't know that one?
Mm-mm.
Oh, you'd like that. You know the St. Elsewhere ending, right? Kid's Snow Globe. There are characters from St. Elsewhere that have popped up in other shows, like Homicide: Life on the Streets. I think somehow it linked to Cheers, but I can't remember how. So Homicide: Life on the Streets, connects to Law and Order SVU with Richard Belzer.
Much.
All of those link into each other, so you can do like a pattern that links like about 280 some shows.
Well, that's cool.
Which means, do all of these shows take place in Tommy Westphall's head?
Inside the snow globe?
Yeah. They all
I'm gonna go with yes,
together.
so that is amazing.
Yeah.
You have just blown my mind.
Even Doctor Who links.
What?
Through
who?
I forget how. It does. You have to look, like, it links through, like, Red Dwarf, maybe, and then that through, like, Star Trek.
I'll have to look it up online.
Yeah,
the internet will help me.
Yeah.
Because I'm all curious now, because I do know about the, like, the Munch thing off of Homicide.
Yeah.
Some of that bleeds over into, like, regular Law and Order, because they have crossovers through that, but I didn't realize how deep the rabbit hole went.
Oh, yeah, it goes all the way back to, like, Leave It to Beaver, I think. Like, it goes far back.
I forgot what that episode of Homicide that Drunk Otis was in.
And I don't mean like Homicide. I just mean like you could like a 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon sort of be like you could this links to
like
this.
This was a crossover with this, and this was a crossover with that.
Yeah.
Gotcha. I was just being silly.
So, it's just the entire thing itself is just like wow, St. Elsewhere. Just we now know the fates of all of these shows. It doesn't matter how they like. It gets really bizarre. Like it links to like Newhart. So does that mean that?
The dream takes place inside the snow globe.
Yeah, he had a dream about Bob Newhart having a dream about living in Vermont, running an inn.
It's a boring-ass dream.
Man, this kid is crazy.
Perhaps we are all inside the snow globe. Watching TV shows.
Yes.
About shows inside a snow globe.
I like the ending of St. Elsewhere, because the dad just walks in like, I don't understand this fucking autism. Like, whatever, the boy seems entertained.
Newfangled autism.
He's like... I wonder what he's dreaming about. I just gave him Robert Kerman's voice from Cannibal Holocaust for some reason.
It's a fun voice to do.
I wonder who the real cannibals are. So that's Rush.
Final thoughts. Perhaps we are all inside a snow globe. Including the movie Rush.
Mm-hmm. Deep. We'll be back tomorrow.
Oh yeah, we're watching My Personal Nightmare.
Gravity?
Yeah.
Is that like a new fear you've had just from seeing that trailer?
Well, I've always I kind of figured that's why he wanted me on the episode, because like one of my biggest fears, which is handy because it's never gonna fucking come up, is being blasted out into space and doomed to hurtle silently screaming through space until you suffocate or there's a pressure seal and your head explodes.
Oh.
I can't watch that one scene from Total Recall where his eyeballs pop out. I can't watch that one part in 2001 where I'm sorry, Dave, I can't do that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that shot's creepy. He's just like...
Yeah, that... Apparently, that's all this movie is. So this is going to be fun. And that's why you're
just
getting
think of it as like... Lost in Space 2.
Yeah, Lost in Space forever.
Open water
until
in
you
space.
Die.
Oh, Earth's right there. They could just swim back. What about that scene in Mission to Mars, I think, where Tim Robbins is like floating and he's, bye, honey, takes off helmet, freeze.
I've never seen that movie, and now I apparently never will.
It's really not that good of a movie. Like, that part's actually pretty intense, but we'll be back tomorrow with...
Does his head, like, explode and the explosion?
No, he's just, like, drifting away, and, like, it's to the point where, like, there's no way that they can reach him to bring him back, and he realizes that if his wife, who's also there as an astronaut, tries going after him, she will also die. So instead of that happening, he's just, bye, and he takes his helmet off and just freeze. It just freezes his head. It doesn't explode. It's PG-13. It doesn't explode.
Because, yeah, I'm picturing, like...
No.
Or like that part in Battlestar Galactica where Callie and the Chief, they had to, like, blast them out the airlock and, like, catch them with a shuttle. That was terrifying.
Yeah. Space.
Damn you, space. Although I was okay with the part in Hitchhiker where they're just... You won't get that reference.
In Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
Yeah.
I saw that movie.
Okay, well, I haven't seen the movie. I saw the miniseries, but it was a while ago. Is there a part in the movie where they, like... get blasted out an airlock and are floating through space for exactly 30 seconds, and then they get teleported into the Heart of Gold spaceship?
I saw that movie, but it was when it came out.
Suffice it to say, there's a part of it where they're in space for 30 seconds.
Oh, okay. If that happened, I can't remember. I can't remember if that happened or not. I liked the movie. I've just only seen it once. You didn't like that movie?
No.
Well, I mean...
I do like the guy, Frodo.
Martin Freeman.
Yeah, and I liked, Mos Def, is that who that was?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I liked him alright. It's just that, just generally speaking, I didn't like it very much. But I really like that book, so I think
and I've never read the book, so I've never read the book. Perhaps if I had, I might not have liked that movie. But I've never had any desire to see it again.
The miniseries is fucking ridiculous. You should watch that. Zaphod Beetlebrox's head is just like this kind of paper mache mess that's like dangling off of his shoulder. And Marvin's actually in the movie. The Marvin from the original. I keep calling it a miniseries, but I don't know if that's necessarily what it is technically. But anyway, the Marvin from that is in the movie in like the line when they're in the post office, which isn't from the fucking book. He's just like kind of waiting in line, like, "Hey guys, I'm a cameo."
Mm-hmm. Nice.
And that's the end of that story.
Does it sing "So Long and Thanks for All the Fish"?
That's actually that song is okay. So long and thanks for all.
Yeah, that part was fun. I like seeing dolphins dance.
Bye!
We'll be back tomorrow with Gravity and Runner. I actually do want to see that miniseries sometime.
You should. I'll show it to you.
Nice. See ya.